Washington, D.C., the House is set to vote on and pass and send that $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package to President Biden as early as this afternoon. The measure will provide an economic boost that will last long after the $1,400 checks start arriving just a little bit later this month. It includes supplemental unemployment benefits, an expansion of the child tax credit, and aid to state and local governments. Joining now from Washington is Bloomberg Chief Washington correspondent Kevin Cirilli. Hey, Kevin, good to see you this morning. Economists boosting forecasts based on all this. We made it. Almost. Yeah. We're almost. Not quite there yet.
Couple more hours.
Yeah, exactly. And then Thursday comes. But it's getting plenty of criticism, of course, for the size and the scope of relief. Where does this bill go beyond COVID relief, according to your sources?
You know, I think, and that's a really important point, is I think we in the media, not you, but I think the broader conversation around this bill has been oversimplified in terms of Republican criticism of it and Democratic progressives' criticism of just the minimum wage. The Democrats are saying that there's not enough, right? The far left, the left portion of the party is saying there's not enough in here. They wanted the increase in minimum wage. They wanted additional funding for police officers and police departments and other local government initiatives across the country. Republicans took a different approach, and they said they wanted a targeted, just relating to COVID reopenings and schools and vaccination rollouts, just to have that funding. And so I think that nuance is really important because Republicans are still advocating for hundreds of billions of dollars in aid and stimulus that is needed. The Federal Reserve has said that there needs to be more stimulus. Republicans were on board with that, but they wanted it in a targeted way. And Democrats, candidly, are frustrated beyond issues than just the minimum wage.
What are some of those issues that they're frustrated with?
They feel that that local state workers, think about government employees, not just firefighters, not just police officers, but government workers in state-run facilities and local-run facilities, that they're going to have to be forced to potentially get laid off because states are running out of money, and that the pandemic has totally whacked all of the financials of a lot of these institutions. So they're looking at this as saying, look, state workers are going to have to be laid off unless there's more funds that are allocated here. So I think that is, in a way, I wish I could capture it more in my reporting, because I think it's just as equal to their frustration about the minimum wage.
Yeah, it's a really important point. And you know, there was a concern a year ago that states were just going to be destroyed because people weren't spending money. And we have since learned from, thanks to some of our municipal bond reporters here at Bloomberg, that it really has been a case of like the haves and have-nots when it comes to different states and cities around the country. Like Hawaii with tourism has been really hurt, but other states like California that would have lost a lot of tax revenue, a lot of that has been made up when it comes to sales tax revenue, for example, from online purchases.
Exactly. And just I would even add to that, if you look at a city like Detroit, for example, I mean, there's a political angle here in the sense that, well, typically what party do state officials typically tend to vote for, and government employees typically tend to vote for that reside in cities? I think that the data would suggest that they're typically lean more Democratic. But to your point, every state's different. And I think that's where, from a debate angle, the Democrats, in hindsight, and reflecting back over the past couple of months, where they actually might have struggled in delivering that, because the Republicans hit them with, why should we have to bail out a Democratic-controlled state? But I think the Democrats would have potentially been more successful if they put a face to the people that potentially could lose their jobs.
Hey, Kevin, what comes next when it comes to the president actually talking about this $1.9 trillion relief plan? First address from the Oval Office tomorrow. The plan is broadly popular with the American people, but he still has some a salesman-like role to take. How does he do that?
This is going to be dubbed by my White House sources as the crowning achievement of President Biden's first 100 days in office. And you are absolutely right that this is very popular. This is a popular piece of legislation. So from President Biden's perspective, he's going to be able to say, I campaigned on this. We got a deal. We didn't get everything we wanted, but you're getting your $1,400 stimulus checks in just a couple of weeks if you qualify for it. And just as important, vaccination rollout is going to continue onward, and funding for schools as well. So there's a lot in here that the President Biden can take credit for, and I do think it is a moment in a way for the centrist in him to be able to say, we didn't get everything we wanted, but I also campaigned that I would negotiate.
Kevin, I got to ask, we were just talking to our colleague William Turton about this just massive hack of more than 100,000 security cameras in different places around the world. Any word from Washington at this point? Any word from the White House on this hack?
No, but it's fascinating to hear him and how he's covered this. I mean, he's literally the cybersecurity reporter, and it's fascinating to hear him say that the speed of these hacks just continues to intensify. Yesterday, I interviewed Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger, a Democrat from Virginia. She was previously in the CIA. And a couple of weeks ago, I interviewed the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Mark Warner, also of Virginia. And they are calling for the United States to work with NATO or some international government organization that would establish rules of the road for cybersecurity. So the way that Chairman Warner put it to me, and this is bipartisan support, the way that Chairman Warner put it to me was, when there's an arms conflict with a country, there are rules in the sense, and it's weird to talk about it because it's war, but if there's a Red Cross vehicle, people know not to blow it up. And it's, I'm speaking, not as artfully maybe as I should about a really difficult subject. No such set of rules exists for cyber. And until countries get to that point, this is going to keep happening.
Right, there are no so-called rules of engagement. That is just a very good point. Bloomberg Chief Washington Correspondent Kevin Cirilli. Kevin, thanks so much for taking the time this morning.
Anytime, thank you.
Always great to start the day with you.